The stars looked different from the bridge of the Pioneer's Edge. Commander Lee Minho had seen many star systems during his 20 years in space, but this one felt strange. The three suns of the Kythera system burned with colors that hurt his eyes if he looked too long. "Sir, we're getting close to the planet," said Kim Woo from his station. The young tech specialist had joined the mission only 6 months ago, but he was already one of the best at reading the ship's sensors. "The readings are weird." Minho walked over to look at Kim Woo's screen. The planet below them was covered in what looked like cities, but the sensors said no one lived there. "Weird how?" "The structures are giving off energy, but there's no life signs. It's like the buildings are alive but empty." Dr. Park Sora looked up from her research station. She was the team's expert on alien life, and she had been studying the planet for 3 days now. "The energy patterns don't match anything we've seen before. Whatever built those structures had technology far beyond ours, or far beyond what we thought was possible," added Choi Nara. The linguist was always careful with her words. She had learned 12 alien languages during her career, but she had never seen anything like what they were finding here. Minho made his decision. "We're going down, prep the shuttle." 2 hours later, they stood on the surface of Kythera Prime. The air was breathable, which was lucky. The gravity was a bit heavy, but not too bad. What took their breath away were the buildings. They rose up like crystal mountains, each one the size of a city block back on Earth. The surfaces were smooth and clear, but they glowed with soft blue, light that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. When Minho touched one of the walls, it felt warm. "These aren't just buildings," Park Sora said, running her scanner along the crystal surface. "There's some kind of organic technology. The walls are alive, but not in any way I understand." Kim Woo was setting up his equipment nearby. "The energy? Readings are off the charts. These things are producing more power than a fusion reactor." "Look at this," Choi Nara called from across the plaza. She was standing in front of a wall covered in symbols. The markings were carved deep into the crystal, and they glowed brighter than the rest of the wall. The team gathered around her as she took pictures of the symbols. They looked like a mix of pictures and writing, but not like any language any of them had seen before. "Can you read any of it?" Minho asked. Choi Nara shook her head. "It's not like any writing system I know. But these pictures," she pointed to one section of the wall, "these look like star maps, and these over here might be some kind of story." The pictures showed tall, thin creatures with 4 arms and large heads. In the first images, they looked primitive, living in caves and hunting with simple tools. But as the story continued, the creatures became more advanced. They built cities, created machines, and eventually reached for the stars. "What's this part?" Park Sora asked, pointing to a section where the 4-armed creatures were kneeling before much smaller figures. The smaller figures in the carvings were hard to make out. The artist had made them glow with bright light, so their exact shape was unclear. But they seemed to be giving gifts to the 4-armed creatures, tools, books, and strange devices. "It looks like they're worshipping something," Kim Woo said. "Or someone." "Sky gods," Choi Nara whispered. "Look at the background. Those are stars and planets. Whatever these smaller figures are, they came from space." They spent the rest of the day exploring the Crystal City. Every building told the same story in different ways. The 4-armed creatures, who they started calling the Builders, had once lived on this planet. They had grown from primitive hunters into a spacefaring civilization, and it had all started when the sky gods arrived. "The level of detail is incredible," Park Sora said as they set up camp that evening. "These aren't primitive cave paintings. This is sophisticated art created by beings with advanced knowledge of astronomy, physics, and engineering." Kim Woo had been analyzing the energy patterns all day. The power source for these crystals is still active after who knows how many years. The technology that built this is far beyond anything we have. That night, Minho couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the carvings and what they meant. Who were these sky gods? Where had they come from? And where were the Builders now? He got up and walked outside their temporary shelter. The crystal building still glowed in the darkness, casting blue shadows across the empty streets. It was beautiful, but also sad. This had once been a living city, home to millions of beings. Now it was a tomb. Couldn't sleep either. Park Sora joined him, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Just thinking," he said, accepting the warm cup. "This place raises more questions than it answers. The genetic traces I found today suggest the builders left this planet thousands of years ago," she said, "but they left all this behind. Why?" Before Minho could answer, Kim Woo came running out of the shelter. "Sir, the ship's sensors are picking up something big-headed this way." They rushed to the communication station Kim Woo had set up. The display showed 3 massive objects approaching from the edge of the star system. They were moving fast, too fast to be natural objects. "Ships," Minho said grimly. "Alien ships." The objects were huge, each one the size of a small city. As they got closer, the sensors revealed more details. The ships were made of the same crystal material as the buildings around them. They pulsed with the same blue energy. "They're definitely artificial," Kim Woo reported. "And they're slowing down. I think they're coming here." "The builders?" Park Sora asked. "Maybe," Minho said. "Or maybe whoever the builders became." Choinara was studying the new readings. "The energy patterns are similar to the buildings, but much more complex. These aren't just ships. They're like flying cities." "How long until they arrive?" Minho asked. 6 hours, Kim Woo replied. Minho made another decision. "Get everything packed. I want us ready to leave in 30 minutes. If we need to." "Are we running?" Park Sora asked. "Not yet. But I want to be ready." He looked up at the 3 approaching lights in the sky. "We came here looking for answers about an ancient civilization. It looks like we're about to meet them instead." The team packed their equipment. The crystal buildings around them began to pulse faster. The blue light grew brighter and a low humming sound filled the air. It was as if the city itself was waking up after a long sleep. "Sir?" Kim Woo called out, his voice tight with excitement and fear. "The approaching ships, they're not just similar to the buildings here. According to my scans, they're using some of the same technology as our own fusion drives, but much more advanced." Minho felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean?" "I mean the basic principles are the same as human technology. Whoever built those ships learned from the same source we did. Or," he paused, looking confused, "or we learned from them." The 3 ships continued their approach, growing larger and brighter in the alien sky. Soon they would have answers. Minho just hoped they would survive long enough to understand what those answers meant. The crystal city hummed louder, welcoming its children home. The decision was made in secret, in a meeting room deep beneath the surface of Nexus Prime. The 5 rulers of the galaxy sat around a table made of pure energy, their faces grim with determination. "The humans have become too dangerous to ignore," Empress Ziliana declared. "Every day they grow stronger. Every week more species join their cause." War Coordinator Yilthar of the Azure Sovereignty spread holographic star maps across the table. "My intelligence reports show they now have military bases in 12 star systems. They have formal treaties with over 100 minor species." Fleet Admiral Vextar nodded grimly. "Worse, they are teaching these species to fight using human tactics. The old ways of controlling the galaxy are failing." High Arbiter Kelvash's shadow form flickered with anger. "Yesterday, 3 of my governors were forced to retreat from their own territories. Local populations were defending themselves with human-supplied weapons." Prime Designate Mordoon's crystal body had turned a deep red, the color of rage among his people. "The Crystal Collective has lost control of 4 entire sectors. The humans call it liberation. I call it rebellion." Supreme Chancellor Drakmor of the Iron Clan slammed his armored fist on the table. "Enough discussion. We all know what must be done. The humans must be destroyed before they can unite the galaxy against us." The other rulers nodded. It was the first time in 1,000 years that all 5 empires had agreed on anything, but the human threat had forced them into alliance. "Assemble every available ship," Vextar commanded. "This will be the largest battle fleet in galactic history." Over 2,000 vessels from all 5 empires. Where will we attack them? Asked Ziliana. Yilthar pointed to a star system on the map. Wolf 359. Our intelligence shows the humans are building a major base there. It will be the perfect place to crush them once and for all. Far away, Admiral Kim Woojin was indeed overseeing the construction of humanity's newest base at Wolf 359. But it was not the kind of base the aliens expected. Instead of a fixed installation, the humans were building a mobile command center that could coordinate fleets across multiple star systems. Sir, we have a priority message from Earth Intelligence, reported Captain Jo Sungwoo, the base's intelligence officer. Kim Woo-jin read the message and felt his blood turn cold. They are massing everything they have. Over 2,000 ships, from all 5 empires. What are our orders, sir? Asked Jo Sungwoo. Signal Earth Defense Command, Kim Woo-jin said. Tell them to begin Operation Rising Sun, full deployment of all human forces. On Earth, President An Ji-ho received the message in the presidential bunker. Around him, the leaders of every Earth nation looked at their screens with expressions of determination mixed with fear. This is it, the president said quietly. Everything we have worked for comes down to this battle. Fleet Admiral Seo Ha-jun was given command of humanity's combined space forces. It was the largest military operation in human history, involving ships and personnel from every nation that had achieved spaceflight capability. How many ships do we have? Asked Seo Ha-jun during the final planning meeting. 500 combat vessels, reported his chief of staff, plus 2,000 fighters and support craft. The numbers were intimidating. Even with all of Earth's ships combined, they were outnumbered 4-1. But human military leaders had studied this problem for months, and they had a plan. Captain Lee Yoongi commanded the UES Dokdo, the newest and most advanced ship in the human fleet. It was equipped with experimental quantum weaponry designed by Dr. Young So-min's research team. The weapons had never been tested in real combat, but computer simulations suggested they could penetrate any known alien defense. Sir, all systems are green, reported his weapons officer. The quantum torpedoes are ready for deployment. Commander Chae Sung-hoon led the assault carrier UES Hangang, which carried the most advanced fighter wings human engineering could produce. His pilots were the best of the best, trained in tactics that no alien pilot had ever encountered. Squadron leaders report status, he commanded. One by one, the squadron commanders confirmed their readiness. Wing Commander Go Yunbin of the Ghost, Squadron Major Park Sun-woo of the Lightning Division, Captain Yu Jae-hwan of the Storm Fighters. Each unit specialized in different aspects of space combat. The alien fleet approached Wolf 359 with confidence. War Coordinator Yilthar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Galactic Supremacy, watching the tactical displays that showed his massive force. 2,017 ships, he said with satisfaction. The largest battle fleet ever assembled. The humans cannot possibly stand against this. Captain Morkiv, his tactical officer, was studying sensor readings from the target system. Sir, I am detecting approximately 300 human vessels in the Wolf 359 system. They appear to be in defensive positions around their base. Only 300? Yilthar laughed. This will be easier than expected. Begin the attack. But as the alien fleet moved into the system, they discovered their first surprise. The human ships were not staying in defensive positions. They were moving, spreading out into formations that made no sense according to traditional military doctrine. Sir, Morkiv said, confusion evident in his voice. The human ships are not behaving logically. They seem to be dividing their force, instead of concentrating it. Yilthar frowned. Perhaps they are retreating. Press the attack. Tactical Officer Eugenia aboard the UES Taiguchi was coordinating the human battle plan. She watched as the alien fleet moved into the trap that humanity had prepared. All units, this is Control, she transmitted. The enemy has taken the bait. Begin Phase 2. What the aliens did not know was that the 300 ships they could see were only part of the human force. Another 200 vessels were hidden throughout the system, disguised as asteroids, debris, or cosmic phenomena. When the alien fleet was fully committed to attacking the visible targets, these hidden ships revealed themselves. Enemy fleet, you are surrounded. Fleet Admiral CO. Hajun broadcast on all frequencies. This is your only chance to surrender. The alien response was predictable. Over 2,000 ships opened fire simultaneously, filling space with energy beams and explosive projectiles. It was the kind of overwhelming firepower that had conquered 1,000 worlds. But the human ships were no longer where the aliens expected them to be. Wing Commander Go Yunbin led her fighter squadron through the alien formation like ghosts made of metal and fire. Her fighters moved in three-dimensional patterns that the alien computers could not predict or track. "Remember your training," she told her pilots. "They think in straight lines, we think in curves and spirals." Pilot Officer Min Sung-ho executed a maneuver that would have been impossible for any alien craft. His fighter spun end over end while maintaining forward momentum, allowing him to strike targets that thought they were safely behind cover. The alien fleet's massive size, which should have been their greatest advantage, became a liability. Their ships were so tightly packed that when human quantum torpedoes struck, the explosions damaged multiple vessels at once. Captain Lee Yoongi watched as his experimental weapons proved even more effective than the scientists had predicted. "Direct hit on enemy flagship," his weapons officer reported. "Their shields are failing." But the most shocking moment came when the artificial intelligence called Arya took direct control of the battle. Dr. Cho Sanha had programmed Arya with human values and human creativity. As the battle raged, the AI began making decisions that no computer had ever made before. It coordinated the movements of hundreds of ships, as if they were dancers performing a complex ballet. "Arya is exceeding all parameters," reported the computer technician monitoring the AI systems. "It is not just following our battle plan, it is improving on it in real time." The alien commanders could not understand what they were seeing. Human ships moved in perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind that could think faster than any living being. Every time the aliens tried to adapt their tactics, the humans were already 3 moves ahead. War Coordinator Yilthar watched, in horror as his mighty fleet was torn apart by an enemy that refused to fight, according to any known rules. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "They are outnumbered 4-1. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "I am detecting massive power readings from the human flagship. They appear to be charging some kind of weapon we have never seen before." Fleet. Admiral Seo Hajun stood on the bridge of the UES Taiguchi as the ship's ultimate weapon powered up. It was called the Unity Cannon, a device that could only function when multiple ships linked their power systems together. It represented everything humanity believed in: cooperation, unity, and the strength that came from working together. "All ships, link your power systems to the Taiguchi," he commanded. "Let us show them what unity can accomplish." One by one, human ships throughout the battle zone connected their energy systems to the flagship. The Unity Cannon drew power from every vessel in the fleet, becoming stronger than any weapon the galaxy had ever seen. "Target the enemy command ship," Seo Hajun ordered. "One shot to end this war." The Unity Cannon fired, and space itself seemed to bend around the beam of energy that struck the galactic supremacy. The alien flagship, which had seemed invincible moments before, simply ceased to exist. The 3 crystal ships landed without making a sound. They came down like giant flowers made of light, settling on the empty plaza near the human camp. Each ship was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Tall spires of living crystal that pulsed with energy patterns that hurt to look at directly. Commander Lee Minho stood with his team, watching as sections of the nearest ship began to glow brighter. No doors opened. Instead, the crystal wall simply became transparent, like looking through water. Something moved inside the ship, but it wasn't what they expected. "Are those energy beings?" Park Sora whispered, adjusting her scanner to get better readings. The creatures that emerged weren't solid. They looked like tall, flowing shapes made of blue-white light. As they got closer, the humans could make out more details. The beings had the same general shape as the four-armed creatures in the wall carvings, but they were made of pure energy now. "Greetings, children of distant stars," a voice said inside their heads. It didn't come through their ears. It appeared directly in their thoughts. "We are the Velnathi Ascended. We have searched the galaxy for so long, and finally we have found others who carry the sacred designs." Minho stepped forward, trying to keep his voice steady. "Sacred designs? I'm Commander Lee Minho of Earth. We're explorers, not whatever you think we are." The lead energy being, who somehow felt more solid than the others, drifted closer. "I am Kethvar, speaker for the Ascended. We know what you are, though you may not know yourselves. Your ships, your technology, they carry the mark of the Divine Architects." "Divine Architects?" Choi Nara stepped forward. As the team's linguist, she was always curious about new concepts. "Who are they?" "They are our creators, our gods, our eternal guides," Kethvar replied, and the other Velnathi began to glow brighter with what might have been excitement. 50,000 of your years ago, they came to our world when we were nothing but clever animals. They lifted us up, gave us consciousness, taught us the ways of technology and science." Kim Woo was frantically taking readings on his equipment. "Commander, their ships use fusion reactors similar to ours, but the containment system is completely different. It's like they took human fusion technology and improved it by 1,000 years. The Divine Architects left us templates," Kethvar continued, not seeming to notice Kim Woo's comments. "Sacred patterns that we have followed ever since. We built our cities according to their designs. We shaped our ships based on their blueprints. We became energy beings because they showed us the path to transcendence." Park Sora raised her scanner toward the Velnathi. "Your energy patterns, and they're incredibly complex. How did you achieve this transformation?" "The Divine Architects taught our ancestors the process before they departed. It took us 20,000 years to perfect it, but we followed their guidance exactly. When we finally transcended physical form, we began our great search." "Search? For what?" Minho asked. "For our creators, of course. The Divine Architects promised they would return, or that we would find others like them among the stars. We have built an empire spanning 100 worlds, all in preparation for this reunion." Bai Taiyang, the engineer from the newly arrived support ship Harmony, had been studying the Velnathi vessels through his long-range scanners. He jogged over to the group, looking excited and confused. "Commander, you need to see this," he said, showing Minho his data pad. "I've been analyzing the alien ships. Their artificial gravity systems use the same mathematical principles as ours. Their hull design follows aerodynamic patterns that match our own atmospheric entry vehicles. Even their communication arrays are based on quantum entanglement theory." "That's impossible," Park Sora said. "We developed those technologies independently on Earth." "Did we?" Bai Taiyang asked quietly. Kethvar seemed pleased by their confusion. "You begin to understand. The Divine Architect's influence spreads across the galaxy. All intelligent life that reaches for the stars eventually rediscovers their patterns." "Show us," Choi Nara said suddenly. "Show us these templates you mentioned." The other Velnathi drifted closer, forming a circle around the humans. Their energy patterns began to synchronize, creating a soft harmony of light and sound. "We will share with you our most sacred treasure," Kethvar said, "but you must understand. What you are about to see has been preserved exactly as the Divine Architects left it. We have changed nothing, added nothing. It is perfect and eternal." The space between the Velnathi began to glow, and shapes formed in the air. At first it looked like a three-dimensional movie, but then the humans realized they were seeing actual recordings, memories preserved in crystalline matrices for 50,000 years. The images showed Cathara Prime as it had been in the distant past. Green forests covered the land, and primitive four-armed creatures lived in simple villages. They used stone tools and hunted large animals that looked like six-legged deer. Then the sky changed. Ships came down from the stars, not crystal ships like the Velnathi use now, but metal vessels with designs that made the humans gasp in recognition. Those look like Earth ships, Kim Woo whispered. Old Earth ships, Bai Taeyang corrected. Really old. The design is similar to the first interstellar vessels we built 300 years ago. In the memory images, beings emerged from the ships. They wore environmental suits that hid their exact appearance, but they moved like bipedal creatures. They were smaller than the four-armed natives, and they carried devices that glowed with soft light. The memories showed the newcomers teaching the primitive Velnathi. They showed them agriculture, metallurgy, mathematics, and basic engineering. The four-armed creatures learned quickly, building better tools and larger settlements. The divine architects stayed with us for many generations, Kethvar explained. They taught us everything. How to read the stars, how to harness energy, how to reach beyond our world. But most importantly, they taught us that consciousness is the greatest gift in the universe. The images continued showing the Velnathi growing more advanced. They built the crystal cities, developed space travel, and eventually learned to transcend their physical forms. But throughout it all, they preserved the teachings and designs of their mysterious benefactors. Where did the divine architects go? Minho asked. They told our ancestors that they too would transcend, but in a different way. They said they would become one with the cosmos itself, watching over all their children across the galaxy. The final image in the memory sequence showed the departure of the divine architects. Their ships rose into the sky and vanished among the stars. But before they left, they gave the Velnathi one final gift. A crystalline data core appeared in the holographic display. It was perfectly preserved, glowing with soft internal light. Symbols covered its surface, the same kinds of symbols the humans had found carved into the crystal buildings. This contains their final message to us, Kethvar said reverently. Instructions for finding others who carry the sacred designs. We have followed these instructions across the galaxy. Choi Nara stepped closer to the holographic core. Her eyes widened as she studied the symbols. I can read some of these. The Velnathi grew brighter with excitement. You can read the divine script? It's not a divine script, Choi Nara said slowly, her voice filled with amazement and disbelief. These symbols, they're an ancient form of Korean writing. And this section here is Old Chinese. And this, she pointed to another area. This is English, but written in a very old style. She looked up at her teammates, her face, the date marking at the bottom. It says UES Deep Space Colonization Project, Phase 7. UES stands for United Earth Systems. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the Velnathi seemed to sense that something important had just been revealed. Minho felt the world spinning around him. Are you saying? I'm saying these divine architects were humans, Choi Nara said quietly. Humans from Earth, 50,000 years ago. The Velnathi's energy patterns began fluctuating wildly. Kethvar drifted backward, his light flickering like a candle in the wind. That cannot be, he said. The divine architects were gods. They were perfect beings of infinite wisdom and power. They were explorers, Bai Taeyang said, studying his readings. Human explorers who found your world and decided to help your people grow. But we have searched for them across 100 worlds, another Velnathi said, its voice filled with confusion. We have built temples and waited for their return. Park Sora stepped forward gently. You've been looking for humans. We're humans. We're their descendants. The three crystal ships suddenly blazed with light as the Velnathi struggled to process this revelation. The beings who had built an entire civilization around worshipping their creators had just learned that their gods were mortal beings like themselves, and standing before them were the children of those gods, still flesh and blood, still reaching for the stars just as their ancestors had done 50,000 years before. Dr. Yoon Jiho arrived on Cathara Prime 3 days after the first contact with the Velnathi. He was Earth's best historian, specializing in humanity's early space exploration. The moment he stepped off his transport ship, he knew this discovery would change everything humans thought they knew about their own past. Show me the data core, he said immediately, not bothering with greetings. Commander Minho led him to the Crystal Plaza, where the Velnathi had set up a temporary translation station. Kethvar and his people had been quiet since learning their divine architects were human. They floated around like lost spirits, their usual bright energy dim and flickering. The revelation had shaken their entire worldview. "Here's what we've translated so far," Choi Nara said, handing Jiho a datapad. "The technical specifications match human technology from about 50,000 years ago, but far more advanced than what we thought was possible back then." Jiho studied the translations, his excitement growing with each line. "UES Deep Space Colonization Project, Phase 7. I've heard rumors about this project, but all the records were lost during the Silent Century." "The Silent Century?" Park Sora asked. "A 1,000-year period in Earth's history when we lost most of our advanced technology due to wars and disasters. We thought humanity had never achieved faster than light travel until 300 years ago. But this suggests we did it much earlier and then forgot how." Kim Woo looked up from his scanning equipment. "The crystal core contains thousands of files, technical manuals, personal logs, scientific research, even what look like family photos. It's like a complete archive of the colony." "Can we access the personal logs?" Jiho asked eagerly. The Velnathi had been listening silently, but now Kethvar drifted closer. "We have preserved everything exactly as the divine architects, as your ancestors left it, but we have never been able to fully understand the meaning of the personal messages." Choi Nara activated the holographic display. Personal log entries began appearing in the air, written in the mixed languages of the ancient colonists. She translated as she read. "Personal log, Dr. Han Subin, colony leader. Day 847 since landing. The Velnathi continue to exceed our expectations. Their neural capacity is remarkable. They learn new concepts faster than human children. We've successfully taught them agriculture and basic metallurgy. Commander Jang Mira believes they'll be ready for more advanced lessons within the year." Jiho was taking notes frantically. "Han Subin, that name appears in some of the oldest Earth records. She was a xenobiologist who disappeared on one of the Lost Colony missions. More log entries appeared. The story they told was remarkable. The human colonists had found Kithara Prime and discovered the primitive Velnathi living in caves. Instead of simply claiming the planet, they had decided to uplift the native species. Personal log, Commander Jang Mira, Day 1205. The Ethical Committee has approved the Neural Enhancement Project. Dr. Han believes we can safely increase Velnathi brain capacity by 400% while preserving their natural personality traits. This is unprecedented in xenobiology." "They were playing God," Park Sora whispered. "No," Kethvar said softly. "They were being parents. They saw children who could grow, and they helped us grow." The logs continued, detailing years of careful genetic and neural modifications. The humans taught the Velnathi language, science, art, and philosophy. They helped them build their first cities and guided them toward space travel. Personal log, Dr. Han Subin. Day 3891. The first generation of enhanced Velnathi has produced offspring with even greater capabilities than their parents. Evolution is accelerating beyond our models. They're not just learning our lessons, they're improving on them. Bai Taiyang studied the technical specifications embedded in the logs. The colonists developed technology we still can't match. Their fusion reactors were 300% more efficient than ours. Their medical nanobots could repair genetic damage at the cellular level. How did they do all this 50,000 years ago? Personal log, Dr. Han Subin, Day 4337. We've made a breakthrough in consciousness transfer technology. Early tests suggest we can preserve human awareness in crystalline matrices. If successful, we could become energy beings like we've taught the Velnathi to become. Jiho looked up from his notes. This explains a lot. Earth's ancient records mention experiments in consciousness transfer, but we thought they were theoretical. The log entries became more excited as the project progressed. The human colonists had not only uplifted the Velnathi, but had also discovered ways to transcend physical form themselves. Personal log, Commander Jang Mira. Day 4192. The first successful human consciousness transfer was completed today. Dr. Chen maintains full awareness and memory while existing as pure energy. We're no longer bound by biological limitations. But then the tone of the logs changed. Warnings began appearing about some kind of detection from deep space. Personal log, Dr. Han Subin, Day 5445. Long-range sensors have detected massive objects moving through the void beyond the galactic rim. They're artificial, clearly constructed by intelligence, but not organic intelligence. Whatever built them destroyed entire star systems in the Magellanic Clouds. Kang Do-yun, the scout who had just arrived with the latest supply ship, looked up from his own scanner readings. Commander, I'm picking up similar energy signatures from dozens of other star systems. Looks like this isn't the only world where humans left their mark. Personal log, Dr. Han Subin, Day 5891. We've confirmed it. The mechanical entities we detected are heading for the main galaxy. Based on their current trajectory and speed, they'll arrive in approximately 50,000 years. We don't have long to prepare. The truth began to emerge from the later log entries. The human colonists hadn't randomly chosen to uplift alien species. They had detected a vast threat approaching from beyond the galaxy, mechanical beings that consumed entire worlds. Personal log, Dr. Han Subin, Day 6012. We've made contact with other human colonies across the galaxy. Each team has found worlds with intelligent life that can be uplifted. If we work together, we can create a network of enhanced civilizations capable of defending against the coming threat. They were preparing for war, Minho realized. Not just any war, a galactic war against something that won't arrive for 50,000 years. The final log entries revealed the colonists' ultimate plan. Personal log, Dr. Han Subin, Day 6337. The consciousness transfer process is now perfected. We will transcend physical form and become guardians of our uplifted children. Our energy patterns will merge with the planetary crystal networks, creating early warning systems that will activate when the threat finally arrives. Personal log, Commander Jang Mira, Day 6340. This is our final entry as physical beings. We have taught the Velnathi everything they need to know. They will continue to grow, explore the galaxy, and find others like them. When the time comes, they will be ready. Personal log, Dr. Han Subin, Day 6341. To whoever finds this record, human or otherwise, know that we did not abandon our children. We became something greater to protect them. The crystal cores contain all our knowledge. Use it wisely. The universe is vast and dangerous, but together, intelligence can overcome any threat. The holographic display faded, leaving the humans and Velnathi in stunned silence. Kethavar was the first to speak. The divine architect, our creators, they sacrificed themselves to protect us from something we couldn't even imagine. And they created more than just your people, Kang Do-yun said, studying his scanner data. I'm detecting similar energy. Patterns from 47 other star systems. Each one has the signature of uplifted civilizations. Dr. Lee Sunmi, the quantum archaeologist who had just joined the team, was scanning the crystal buildings around them with specialized equipment. Commander, these crystals aren't just storing information, they're storing consciousness. The colonists didn't die. They're still here, dormant in the planetary network. Jiho felt a chill run down his spine. Are you saying they're still alive? In Matiran, away, yes. Their consciousness patterns are preserved in quantum matrices throughout the crystal network. They've been sleeping for 50,000 years, waiting. Waiting for what? Park Sora asked. Sunmi looked up from her scanner, her face pale with realization. Waiting for the threat they detected to finally arrive. And according to these readings, she checked her calculations twice. Those mechanical entities they were worried about are due to reach our galaxy very soon. The crystal buildings around them suddenly began pulsing faster, as if responding to their conversation. The Velnathi ships started glowing brighter, and energy patterns began flowing between them and the ancient structures. The network is awakening, Kethavar said with wonder and fear in his voice. After 50,000 years of silence, our creators are stirring. In the distance, other Velnathi ships were arriving. But these brought news that changed everything. They had detected massive energy signatures approaching from 47 other star systems. The uplifted species from across the galaxy were on their way to Kythera Prime. The reunion their ancient creators had planned for 50,000 years was finally beginning. The first alien ship to arrive wasn't crystal like the Velnathi vessels. It was a massive sphere made of what looked like living water, constantly flowing and changing shape. When it landed, the water formed into a perfect dome, and creatures that looked like walking jellyfish emerged from within. The Nexari, Kethavar explained to the humans. They were uplifted from the deep oceans of their world. Like us, they worshiped the divine architects. Commander Lee Minho watched as more ships arrived. Each one was different. Some looked like enormous flowers made of metal. Others resembled giant insects with wings that glowed like rainbows. But despite their different appearances, they all used similar technology to the Velnathi. How many species are coming? Park Sora asked, adjusting her scanner to catalog the new arrivals. 47 confirmed, Kang Doyun reported from his monitoring station. Each one from a different star system, but they're all following similar flight paths. It's like they've been coordinating this meeting for years. The Nexari delegation approached the human group. Their leader was a tall, graceful being that moved like it was swimming through air. Its translucent body pulsed with soft blue lights as it communicated through biochemical signals that the translation devices converted to speech. I am Velthara, war prophet of the Nexari depths, the creature said. We have traveled far to witness this gathering, but we sense confusion in the flow patterns around the crystal network. Confusion is putting it mildly, Dr. Yoon Ji-ho muttered, still processing the historical data they'd discovered. Another ship landed nearby, disgorging creatures that looked like a cross between spiders and butterflies. They moved as one group, their thoughts connected in a collective mind. When they spoke, dozens of voices said the same words at exactly the same time. We are Threnodi. We are many. We are one. The song of the divine architects brought us across the void. But the song has changed. The harmony is wrong. Bai Taiyang was studying the energy readings from all the arriving ships. Commander, they're all using variations of the same basic technology. Fusion drives, artificial gravity, crystalline data storage. But each species has adapted it in their own way. More ships arrived throughout the day. The Valorians came in wedge-shaped, vessels that looked like they were built for war. They were pack hunters, uplifted from creatures that resembled wolves with multiple eyes. Their leader, a scarred veteran named Thekron, sniffed the air suspiciously when he approached the human group. You smell of the Maker scent, he growled. But you are weak, flesh-bound. How can the Maker's children be so small? That's what we're trying to figure out, Minho replied diplomatically. By evening, representatives from 23 different species had gathered on Kythera Prime. Each group brought their own interpretation of the divine architect's teachings, their own technological adaptations, and their own religious beliefs about their creators. The problems began almost immediately. This is blasphemy, Velthara declared during the first interspecies meeting. These flesh creatures claim to be descendants of the divine architects, but they possess none of the divine attributes. They cannot transcend physical form. They do not command the crystalline networks. They are imposters. Several other species agreed. To them, the divine architects were gods who had created perfect beings. The idea that these gods had been mortal creatures like themselves was unthinkable. The evidence is clear, Choi Nara said, activating the holographic display that showed the translated log entries. The colony records show. Records can be falsified, Thekron snarled. Any clever species could create false histories to claim divine heritage. But the Threnodi collective had a different perspective. We taste truth in the data patterns, they said in unison. The quantum signatures match our oldest memory crystals. These small builders carry the source code of creation. The argument might have continued indefinitely, but Dr. Lee Sunmi's voice cut through the debate. The crystal network is responding to something. The consciousness patterns I detected earlier are becoming more active. She was right. The crystal buildings around them were pulsing faster, and new energy patterns were flowing between the structures. The air itself seemed to hum with power. It's like the network is trying to wake up, Kim Woo said, monitoring the energy fluctuations. But it needs some kind of trigger. The trigger came when Sunmi activated her most powerful quantum scanner to study the central crystal spire. The beam of energy struck the building, and suddenly the entire network blazed with light. A voice spoke across the gathered species, not through their ears or their translation devices, but directly into their consciousness. It was warm and familiar, like a parent's voice calling children home. "Our children," the voice said. "You have grown beyond our greatest hopes. You have found each other across the vast darkness, just as we planned. The time of awakening has come. Every being on the planet, human, Velnathi, Nexari, Threnodi, Valorian, and all the others, felt the presence of something vast and ancient touching their minds. The consciousness that had been dormant in the crystal network for 50,000 years was finally stirring. "I am Dr. Han Subin," the voice continued. "I speak for all the consciousness patterns preserved in this network. We are your creators, your teachers, your guardians, and we have been waiting so long to see what you would become." The effect on the assembled species was immediate and dramatic. Some, like the Velnathi, dropped to whatever they used for knees in worship. Others, like the Valorians, howled in triumph. The Threnodi began singing in perfect harmony, while the Nexari pulsed with colors that had no names. But not everyone was pleased. "Lies!" Velthara shrieked, her form becoming agitated and spiky. "The divine architects were eternal beings of pure energy. They could not have been mortal flesh creatures." Several other species began to argue among themselves. Some refused to accept the revelation, insisting their creators were gods, not mortals. Others demanded proof, wanting to see the awakened consciousness with their own senses. The human team watched in growing alarm as the gathering began to fracture. What should have been a joyous reunion was turning into a theological crisis that could tear apart the galaxy. "Dr. Han?" Minho called out to the consciousness in the network. "Your children are fighting. They're not ready for this truth." The ancient consciousness paused, and when it spoke again, there was sadness in its voice. "We knew this might happen. 50,000 years is a long time. Myths become more real than history. Beliefs become stronger than facts." "What do we do?" Park Sora asked. "You unite them," Dr. Han replied. "Because you must. The threat we detected so long ago is almost here. Our sensors have been tracking it across the void for millennia. The mechanical entities, the Devourers, will breach the galactic rim within 10 years. The arguments among the species suddenly stopped as the implications sank in. 10 years? Kethvar whispered. "But we thought we had more time to prepare." "The Devourers move faster than we calculated," Dr. Han explained. "They have consumed 3 satellite galaxies since we began our watch. Each conquest makes them stronger, more efficient. If the uplifted species cannot work together, if they cannot combine their strengths, then everything we built will be destroyed." Thekaron, the Valorian leader, stepped forward. "What are these Devourers? What do they want?" "They are ancient machines, older than most stars. They consume organic life, convert matter into more machines, and move on to the next target. They have no interest in negotiation or coexistence. They simply devour everything in their path." The gathered species looked at each other with new understanding. Their theological argument suddenly seemed petty in the face of extinction. "How do we fight them?" Velthara asked, her hostility forgotten. "Together," Dr. Han said simply. "Each species we uplifted has unique capabilities. The Velnathi can manipulate energy on a massive scale. The Nexari can adapt to any environment. The Threnodi can coordinate millions of minds as one. The Valorians are the galaxy's greatest warriors. And the humans?" "What about us?" Jiho asked. "You are the bridge," Dr. Han replied. "You carry the genetic and cultural memory of your creators. In your presence, The uplifted species remember their common origin. You are the unity that binds the galaxy together. As if to prove the point, the various alien species began to calm down as they listened to the exchange between the humans and their ancient creator. The theological crisis wasn't over, but the immediate threat had given them a common enemy to focus on. 10 years, Minho said quietly. Can we really unite 47 different species in 10 years? You have to, Dr. Han said. Because the alternative is the end of all intelligent life in this galaxy. In the distance, more ships were arriving. The gathering was far from complete, and the real work of building a galactic alliance was just beginning. But for the first time in 50,000 years, the children of the divine architects were together, preparing to face the darkness that was coming for them all.